Okay, welcome to Micro Econs. Today we'll be doing the market equilibrium and application. So I will use this as a platform to actually revise the demand and supply with its determinants. So what is important for today is we will be looking at the outcome, which is you have to tell me the new equilibrium price and new equilibrium quantity. So look at the questions very carefully. Did I ask for supply or I ask for demand? If I ask for equilibrium, it will be both demand and supply in the same graph. Okay, so of course, because the supply and demand analysis is already what we have learned before in the last two topics, here we will be focusing on point number 4. We'll be focusing on point number 4, which is the government policies intervening the market. Namely, it will be the price ceiling and price floor. Okay, let us look at what is the market equilibrium. Keyword is that the product for the demand and the supply will be just equal. Remember, we had our demand. The definition of demand is that we are able and willing to buy, and the definition of supply is willing and able to sell. But the problem is this: I may be willing to buy iPhone 6s at $3, but nobody in the right mind would want to sell me at $3. That's the problem. So we will need to combine the two to see the impact. Okay. So looking at it, as I mentioned, if I want to buy something at a very cheap price, a lot of people will be thinking of the same thing. We all want to buy the things at very cheap price. When the price go up, we will not want to buy it at that price. Reason for this law of demand is actually due to the income effect and the substitution effect. How about the sellers? Sellers is opposite. They may want to sell me iPhone 6s at 1 million. That is what they want, because they will divert resources towards the higher price item. Here, a lot of sellers will want to sell me at higher price, but the thing is, nobody will want to buy at iPhone 6s at 1 million, correct? So here, when the price go down to $3, then nobody will want to sell me the iPhone. So today's what we're going to do is we have to see where the demand and the supply is just equal. So if you look at this $3, your demand is 7,000, your supply is 7,000, so they are just equal. Graphically, it will mean that you must have drawn the price on the y-axis and the quantity along the x-axis. So price and quantity, the price is 3 and the quantity is 7,000. So that is the market clearing price. Remember, if I want the equilibrium diagram, once you want to see the equilibrium diagram, you must have both demand and supply on the same graph. How did it happen? We have two other terms, which is the surplus and shortage. Basically, if it is above the actual equilibrium, it will be surplus. If it is below, it will be shortage. For helping those people to actually explain the concept, we will actually look into one by one. Okay, now look at this surplus. What happens when there is a surplus? We will always start at the price that is not the equilibrium first, because at the equilibrium is already just equal. There is no surplus or shortage at the equilibrium. So if the price is higher than equilibrium, what will happen? In this case, the price is 4. As the buyer, you will not be happy. Why? Because you'll be thinking, hey, the price should be around 3, but why am I supposed to pay 4? So a lot of people will actually go for the substitute product or whatever. As a buyer of corn, in this case is corn, if the price of a corn is $4, I might as well eat carrot, for example. So only fewer people will want to buy the corn. Maybe these are the people who really want to insist that the ingredient to have corn, or to make popcorn for the kids. If not, the kids will throw tantrums. So what you have is for the buyer side, this is the demand. You look at if it is price is higher than usual, less people will actually purchase the corn. Alright, will be willing and able to purchase the corn. However, look at the seller side. What happens when it is at $4? Because $4 is a higher price item, the farmers will be producing corn rather than carrot and so on and so forth. So here, they will actually diverting resources to a higher price item and thus produce maybe 10,000 quantity of corn. When you see the surplus, how did it settle down back to the equilibrium position? We can use the phrasing in order to sell off their unsold surplus. Please write down. In order to sell off their unsold surplus, there is a downward pressure on price. This is how you link up. In order to sell off the unsold surplus, there is a downward pressure on price from where? Look, this price from 4 goes down to 3. Alright, so you already touched on the outcome, which is the price. Now, how about the quantity? How do you touch on the equilibrium quantity? Now, how much is the surplus? Look at this. This is 10,000 and this is 4,000. Supply is 10,000, demand is 4,000. The surplus will be 10,000 minus 4,000, in this case 6,000. Alright, so in order to clear off the unsold surplus of 6,000 units of corn, there is a downward pressure on price from $4 to $3, and the final equilibrium quantity of corn is 7,000. This is how you phrase it. We move on to the shortage. Shortage will usually occur below the equilibrium. So what happens is the opposite. If you are thinking of buying corn and the price is $2, you'll find A is so cheap. You will be thinking it's supposed to be $3. So what you do is, more people would be willing to buy the corn at $2. Alright? But how about the farmers? Farmers will be thinking, hey, $2 doesn't worth my effort, my pesticide, my seed and everything. So the price should be $3. In that case, fewer sellers, fewer farmers will be able to sell it at $2. Maybe those farmers are very effective in cost savings, etc. So they are willing to do it at $2. So what is the shortage? From here, we will be talking about linking up the shortage part. So for the shortage, in order to sell off for the shortage code would be, there will be many disappointed buyers. Why are there many disappointed buyers? You look, the buyers are actually 11,000, but the sellers are actually 4,000. So the disappointed buyers, they are trying to buy the shortage of 7,000 units. So there are many disappointed buyers, and the producers, that means the sellers, supplier, realize they can increase the price. Okay, so for the buyers, they go to maybe shop A, then they ask for the corn. Sorry, out of stock. They go to shop B, out of stock, etc. And therefore, until finally the sellers realize, hey, how come so many people asking for my corn? That means I must have sold it at a cheaper price. And therefore, many disappointed buyers, due to the shortage of 7,000 units of corn, and producers realize they can increase the price from $2 to $3. The final equilibrium will be at 7,000 units of corn. Okay, so that's how you phrase it. You must apply the numbers. That's why I mentioned many disappointed buyers due to the shortage of 7,000 units of corn. I want the numbers to be in. Alright? And producers realize they can raise the price from $2 to $3. The final equilibrium, when we talk about outcome, we must talk about the final outcome in the sense of price, equilibrium price and quantity. We have touched on the price already increased to $3. So we will be talking about the equilibrium quantity, which is this 7,000 units of corn. Okay, let us recap what are the determinants. That means what will shift. For movement along, we don't have to talk about already because we already know movement along must be due to a change in price. But then when we are trying to explain the shift, we have to identify which one is the determinant in order to score our points. So all this, we have to choose a perfect one for the situation. And we also have another list later for the supply. For your level, ceteris paribus, we only shift one thing at a time. We will not shift demand and supply at the same time. Alright, we'll try to avoid. Only one thing will change at a time. Now, look at this. For example, here we have the demand shift to the right. To recap, what are the possible reasons for demand to shift to the right? We look through one by one. Is it possible that there is a change in income? So the demand actually shift to the right because the income increase. Alright? Okay, due to the changes in the prices of substitute. What happened to the prices of substitutes in this case? Very good. The prices of substitute actually increase. So even though there's no changes in the price of this product, since you buy less substitute products, you go and buy this product. Therefore, your demand curve shift to the right. Okay? So this is what I mean. You have to look through taste and preference and so on. Maybe more people want to buy certain vegetable because now they say processed meat is alleged to cause cancer. And size and structure of population. Maybe this product is the wheelchair and your population is aging, so more people would need to have that product. Change in climate. For example, if you are during summer, you may want to eat more ice cream. Correct? So that if it is summertime compared to winter, what you'll be doing is you'll be looking for ice cream. Therefore, your demand curve will actually shift to the right. Okay, what other possible reasons? Change in government policy, can be for demand and can be for supply. It doesn't tell you the direction. So you have to be very careful when you use this. How about expectation of future price change? If you want to buy now, buy more now, what must you expect? The price will actually increase or decrease in future. Since you want to buy now, it will be increasing in future. So before it increase, because this is expectation, it haven't happened yet. The price haven't changed. If the price change, it will be movement along already. Don't even need to talk about shift. So here, there's no price change yet, but you suspect that the price will increase. Therefore, you better buy now. Alright? And therefore, this thing actually shift to the right, the demand curve. Now, what is the impact for the shifting to the right? Let us use the surplus and the shortage to explain this. So follow me closely. You always start with the point when we talk about at the same price. I repeat, step number one, you always talk about the original price. Original price is this. This is the price that is happening. When the determinant happen, you shift your demand curve to the right. Now, looking at this original one, we look at the width, make it thicker. Now, if you have shifted the pink color demand curve to the right, actually what happened is this one shifted to the right. The original D is no longer there. You put it one side first, later maybe you want to think about it, okay? So this thing will actually already shifted out somewhere. Now, look at the diagram itself now. At the same price, which is this blue P, your demand is actually this part, which is actually a very big amount. You look at here, if you put at the price, because the price is lower than the actual equilibrium, Once you know that the price is lower than the actual equilibrium, you know you're supposed to talk about shortage. But how do I derive the shortage? Look here, at the new demand curve, the price, original price, your quantity, it could be Q2, alright? Your quantity could be actually, in this case, Q2. So, since the price is so cheap, people would want to demand Q2. However, the price is so cheap. Look at the yellow supply curve. Supply curve are by the farmers or whoever. In this case, because the price is cheaper, you divert resources away from the cheaper price item. So they were actually only willing to sell Q. People want to buy Q2, but seller want to sell only Q. So you can use the code. There are many disappointed buyers, which is the amount equivalent to Q2 minus Q. There are many disappointed buyers, and then due to the shortage of Q2 minus Q, and producers realize they can increase the price. That is why from this P, it actually increased the price to P1. Can you see? So what you have is now at the new equilibrium, you are supposed to tell me the outcome. The price increase. Look at this yellow thing, this yellow arrow. I'm trying to indicate that the price increased from P to P1 and the quantity actually from Q to Q1. Do you need the Q2? No need. The Q2 is a transition. It's just a transition. Because after the price increase, the people will actually automatically buy less. They will want to buy Q2 because of P. But when the sellers increase the price to P1, price change, actually this one will crawl up. It's an upward movement along the demand curve. So now you got the picture, you can put back. Hopefully it doesn't confuse you. And to prevent the confusion, you take out the D and then you can put it back. Alright, so but after some time, please note I need you to be able to do it. That means once you see this, you actually put this line in and then do accordingly. Remember, the first step is at the original price. Alright, at the original price. We try again for the next one. Okay, the opposite scenario. What you have is you will have the original price, which is here. Now I'm not going to move the D away. You try to follow to see whether you can see it or not. So which code are you going to use? You know the new equilibrium should be lower. In this case, it must be a surplus. Alright. If the correct equilibrium is lower, it will be a surplus. Now look at this original price. What happened to your demand? It must be due to a certain reason. Maybe there's a recession and therefore the people has less income. Because of this reason, the demand curve actually shift to the left from D to D1. At the original price, we always look at the original price. The seller want to sell Q, which is this yellow arrow. But the buyer want to buy how much? It is the new arrow here. And the amount would actually be less. Okay, the amount is actually here. Let us name this Q2. Alright. So here you can say that in order to sell off the unsold surplus of Q minus Q2, which is this part, because the seller, the yellow one, want to sell Q, the buyer, the new demand curve is here. They want to buy only Q2. In order to sell off the unsold surplus of Q minus Q2, there is a downward pressure on price from P to P1. So once you shift the price from P to P1, you will reach the equilibrium, and you tell me that the equilibrium quantity is also Q1. Alright, look at the yellow arrow. You must remember to indicate on the diagram. Okay, we move on to the supply side. Supply is the problematic side because students by default will be thinking of the demand side. For supply, please change your mindset to a farmer, factory owner, entrepreneur, seller, and so on. Okay, we have many reasons here. Improvement in technology would be you can produce more at cheaper unit cost. Factors of production is the land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. So any of these prices increase, you have less resources to produce. For example, if you sell roti prata, you intend to sell 300 roti prata, but if the eggs increase price, alright, then your money for running the business would be, more portion will be going into buying the eggs. So you have less portion for the flour and so on. And therefore you can, at the end, you can produce less roti prata. Okay, so that is one of the example. Or you can talk about labor charges. If your workers want higher salary, you have less money to buy the flour and eggs, so you will end up producing less roti prata. Okay, so this is the factors of production. It can be of any of the LLCE, land labor capital entrepreneur. Next, changes in prices of substitute in production. I need the word in production. So let us see, for example, this case. Why does the supply curve actually shift to the right? We could choose any other reason that you can think of. What happened to the price of substitute in production? Increase or decrease? For substitute in production, we think of the case, for example, plastic chairs and plastic pail, both using plastic. Alright, so if we want to actually increase plastic chairs, that means what? Plastic pail prices could be, yes, because of the price decrease, your profit you'll be thinking of will be less. Alright, because of that, what will happen is, since the other substitute in production price decrease, you will actually produce this one instead using the same raw material, etc. Okay, your supply curve will shift to the right. And in this case, what will happen? Same thing. You always use the original price concept. Always start with that. If you forget to start with that, you will actually make a mistake. So the original price is here. Alright? But then the supply curve shift to the right. Any other reasons? It could be more sellers into the market. Or you can be expecting future prices to go down. So you sell more now. You take out whatever in your warehouse and sell first before the price go down. The price haven't gone down. If the price already gone down, it will be movement along. The price haven't gone down, you expect the price to go down, so you sell now. Weather conditions, the very good harvest due to good weather, so you have more corn to sell, and so on. These two will be dependent on the situation. So we do not know whether it will cause it to be the right or so on. For example, agreement among producers could be the OPEC, that means oil producers. They can agree that they will drill more oil out from the earth, for example. So this thing will actually shift to the right. At the same price, now we go through slowly. Look at this. This is above the new equilibrium. Straight away, you know it will be a surplus. Alright, but how much is a surplus? Focus, this is the original price. Your supply curve shift to S1. If you find this confusing, you can remove this first. Put one side first. And we focus here. So what you have is, at the original price, the demand. This is the demand. The demand is Q. However, what about the supply? Since the price is higher than the original, the equilibrium, what will happen is the sellers will divert resources to the higher price item. So this thing is actually will be more. For example, here should be, maybe if you want, you can draw a Q2. So in order to sell off the unsold surplus of how much? This is Q2. Seller want to sell Q2. Buyer want to buy only Q. So in order to sell off the unsold surplus of Q2 minus Q, there's a downward pressure on price. So you look at this price, there's a pressure to move to P1. And you must tell me the outcome. Equilibrium price will reduce, look at the yellow arrow, P to P1. And the equilibrium will be increased from original. If you remember, this was the original, from Q to Q1. Okay? How about the reverse? Okay, reverse could be the tsunami spoil the technology. Then the factors of production increase price or whatever. Alright. Then you have changes in the complements in production or substitute in production, the prices. For example, if you produce less, it could be due to the prices of complement product also dropping, and therefore end up you will produce less since you want to divert resources away. Number of suppliers, some people go bankrupt and you have less sellers now. You expect future prices to actually go up, so you sell less, you hoarding the item to sell more in future, or you have a poor harvest due to bad reason and so on. So for here, what will happen is same thing, always use the original price. At the original price, what will happen? This is the original price, but your supply actually shift to the left. At the original price, the demand is Q, but once you shift the supply to the left, the supply is Q2, which is here. Alright, since it's below the new equilibrium, you already straight away know it's a shortage. There are many disappointed buyers due to the shortage of Q minus Q2. Sellers is Q2, buyers is Q. Buyers more than sellers. So it's a shortage of Q minus Q2. And producers realize they can increase the price. So from the price, they will increase from P to P1. Alright, so what is the equilibrium price? Look at the small yellow arrow, P to P1, and the quantity Q to Q1. So this is how we actually explain the shift in demand and supply. We will always be looking at shortage or surplus. We move on to the more important part of today's lesson, which is the market intervention. Because all the previous one you have learned in demand and supply analysis, we'll just focus on the new things, which is this. The first thing is what is a ceiling. This is a legally established price and it is the maximum. That means you cannot go higher than this price. If not, you'll be against the law. The law says that this is the maximum you can charge. For both price ceiling and price floor, please note if there is any surplus or shortage, you cannot continue to mention there's a change in price. Alright, I repeat, for A and B, I know you may end up with shortage or surplus, but you are not allowed to change the price. Remember, whenever we have surplus, we say there's a downward pressure on price, then we change the price. Or when there is a shortage, we will say that the producers realize they can increase the price. However, for this situation, this category, these two, you are not allowed to change. Okay, you are not allowed to change. So let us see how it works if you are not allowed to change. Now look, if this is actually a price ceiling, please note that ceiling is under the equilibrium. That's why you cannot go up anymore. Alright, it is illegal to go up. This is the maximum already. So this is P2 is the maximum. You would very much want to go to P1. Why? You see this, at this price, what happened is there's a shortage. This is buyer, demand is buyer. Buyer want to buy Q3. Seller want to sell only Q2 because this price is very cheap. They want to divert resources away from this product. There will be a shortage of Q3 minus Q2. Okay? So by right, due to this shortage, you want to increase the price. However, you cannot do so. Reason? If you increase the price, you are against the law. You are breaching the law. And therefore, you stay as the shortage. So what is the outcome? It will be a growth of black market. What is the black market? That means people will sell illegally. They may buy at cheaper price, but then they will sell it away at a higher price, which trying to be the unofficial, and it is illegal to do so. Give you an example. For example, if war is coming and you're selling rice, alright, and you think that next week maybe people will be even more hard up. You want to reserve the rice to sell, but then the government may be thinking, oh, it is not right for the rice seller to sell at such a high price, especially rice is a necessity. So the government may make sure that the price is cheap. So what the rice seller may be doing is that they may just put a few sacks outside and say, oh, I finished selling. Alright, there's no more because it's very cheap. It is maybe $5 per kg, but actually I wanted to sell $8 per kg. Alright, so what will happen is there will be shortage. A lot of buyers will come around and say, hey, no more stock, no more stock. But if you know the seller well enough, you can tell the seller, hey, you have any more stock in the warehouse, I can pay $8 for you, something like that. And the seller will actually, if they trust you enough, they will actually sell to you. So that is the black market. By right, they cannot sell higher than $5. Alright, that is one example. So what is the reason for price ceiling? You are trying to help the needy people. Usually it's to help the poor. Alright, protect the buyers. So it may be successful, but it also may not be successful depending on the objective. Okay, what are the possible what are the situations? We have the ceiling price of this. No matter whether the singer is popular or not popular, you'll find that for the VCD, CD, the price is quite controlled. Okay, next we move on to the price floor, which is the opposite case. This is the minimum price. The minimum price that you can be, a seller can be paid. Alright, legally established price. So let us look at the diagram. Since the minimum price and price floor, it will be above the equilibrium. Alright, you can sell higher price, but not lower. Usually what will happen is this. At this price, look here, at this price what will happen? Seller want to sell Q2, but buyer is only Q1. So you want to actually look at the surplus of Q2 minus Q1. When you have a surplus, normally you will say something like, you want to sell off the surplus of Q2 minus Q1, and you will proceed with the other part. But here, because it is a price floor, you cannot move down the prices. So what do you do with the surplus? Usually the surplus will be bought by the government. Alright, so what are the reasons? How much is it? Look at the surplus. The quantity is Q2 minus Q1. If they are supposed to be bought by the government, the price is already set as P1. Alright, so how much must the government pay in order to absorb this surplus? It is actually Q2 minus Q1, which is the quantity, times the price, which is the P1. Alright, so that is the amount that the government has to pay in order to absorb up the surplus. So if you look, what are the reasons? You want to maintain income for producers. For example, protect the farmer. Farmers, due to bad harvest, they can sell less. Due to good harvest, and you want to lower the price, then there's no way they can actually make a good living out of it. Alright, so for the farmers, you are trying to maintain, and therefore you try to make the price higher. Okay, the other reason could be want to store the rice. For example, if this is rice, the government may want to store the rice because in case next year is a bad harvest, then they can take out the rice to sell to the needy people at cheaper price. The other one is maintain wages. Wages will be, that means this could be the minimum wage law. In America now, it is about slightly more than $10 per hour. Alright, Singapore, we don't have this minimum wage law. So you can see that some of my students mentioned that they work at McDonald's for $4 plus. Entry level basically. And some people who are promoter or banquet, they can earn as much as a banquet waiter, server for the night shift. They can earn as much as $10 per hour. 14 already. That's great. Okay, so what are the examples? You must also have some examples on hand so that in the exam, during examination, you do not waste time thinking what are the possible situations. Okay, but what is the problem with this surplus? Remember, the farmers, they are actually being able to sell the products at a cheaper price, but because the government are buying back at a higher price, they may be making them very complacent. they may not be willing to find new ways of producing more product or more efficient ways, because anyway the government will buy from them, so they don't really bother whether the harvest is going to be no planning for future or whatever lah, basically. So whatever extra they quickly sell to the government. What are the situations, the cases that we can look at? This is the prompt price to protect the prompt farmers the other time that Thailand used. We move to indirect taxation. Okay, for indirect taxation, it could be taxes on liquor, cigarettes. What other kind of indirect taxation? It will be, for example, GST. Direct taxation is income tax. Direct taxation, for example, an example of direct taxation will be income tax. But indirect taxation, that means you tax on the goods itself, can be import tax and so on. You will find those people who smoke or drink liquor, they will find that, oh, they go across the causeway, buy it from Malaysia, it will be so much cheaper than having it here. Okay, so let us look at this diagram that we have. Due to the indirect taxation, the tax amount, because this part is the price, whatever the GST increase or whatever, it will actually be shifting the supply curve up. Alright, and we are going to share the burden. Look at the burden. The top one will be the buyer's burden. How do you draw this amount? We look closely at the diagram again. Now, for the buyer's burden, it will be this area. How do you draw it? Original demand and supply is this side. You cut across, you have the P. This is the original price. Alright? Then this is the newly shifted supply curve. If you draw a vertical line down, you will already have the two lines. This line and this line. Correct? And what you do is you just connect it back, and you will have the tax burden, and the below will be the seller's burden. Alright, this diagram, you see that the two burdens are quite equal in amount. Reason is my lines are about 45 degrees. In future, when you learn about elasticity, you'll find that it may not be equal amount. It depends on who is more hard up for the product. For example, cigarettes, you'll find that buyers may have to pay a higher tax burden because they are the one who really need to smoke more than the seller needing to sell that product. Okay, so for this case, please note how you draw the buyer's tax burden. It will be P1, A, C. That is the buyer's tax burden. Remember the part, the dividing line will be the one on the original equilibrium. So this one is the new equilibrium. By drawing down, you can get the seller's tax burden easily. Okay? Next, we move to the last, which is the subsidies. Okay, so subsidies is to help to lower the cost. For example, the Pioneer Citizen, they have the PG card and so on. So how does it help? It actually lower cost. Remember the cost that we are talking about. By subsidizing, it will actually lower cost. The supplier will actually have more products to sell, so the S will be shifting to S1. The vertical distance, remember this part is the price, so it's talking about the dollar and cents, this part, and not the horizontal distance. The horizontal distance is talking about the quantity. So the subsidies will be this part where the whole thing will shift down. So when the subsidy is granted, the supply curve will shift rightwards and the full amount of the subsidies. Especially when you subsidize, for example, R&D costs, research and development costs, for whatever reasons that you want the economy to go towards that direction. For example, we are also trying to find out vaccination for dengue fever. Alright, because a lot of people actually suffering from the dengue fever, they have to go to ICU, and one day per cost could be $1,000. But if you have a vaccination for this dengue fever, a lot of the older people or young children will not need to suffer so much. Now, this thing will actually shift, supply curve will shift to the right by the amount of subsidies that is dropped down, and then you will move on to the new price and new quantity. Look at the new price and the quantity. Original is P and Q, but due to the subsidies, the price is cheaper and more people can actually enjoy the product. What are the examples? Farm subsidies, because all governments actually do like to have farmers due to national security. Food source is a very important thing for especially if you're going to war or whatever. So you need to have food supplies that is maybe most probably on the domestic side to help you. Okay, with that, thank you class.